Ultimately, Wisconsin Field Report is, in a way, a love letter to Wisconsin. It's a cookbook that contains 70 recipes from local chefs across the state. And along with that, it contains stories from over 45 farms in the state. The fun thing about it is that each recipe connects to a farm. So there's ingredients from that farm used in the recipe. There's a relationship there between the chef and that particular farm. And so people can easily kind of see how restaurants and farms really work together to get that food, onto the plate. Because it starts with the farms. So many restaurants nowadays would be really in a very different place without them. And because they produce all the beautiful, fresh, local food that's being used. And then, you'll kind of see how the chefs take that food, which is beautiful in and of itself, and then they make something that's really, really magical. I was very lucky, and the publisher Globe Pequot came to me. I'd been recommended by a friend who'd written some books for them, and they came to me and said, "We heard that you might be our woman to write a Wisconsin cookbook." And we discussed it a little bit. They were pretty open to ideas, and because Wisconsin is such an agricultural leader, and because the farm to table movement, so to speak, has really caught on pretty quickly here, I thought it would be really, really great to incorporate those two things in the book. And quite frankly, we live in Wisconsin, we have farms across the state, but we don't talk about our farmers enough. Their stories aren't told enough. And so this book is really, it's largely dedicated to the farms who gave us their time, who produce all that food. I think just in general, so if you look at Wisconsin, we have big cred when it comes to agriculture. I mean, we're the number one producer of cranberries. We're the number one producer of ginseng. We're the number one producer of whey and sweet corn in the nation. We also rank really high up there. We have the most organic farms, like per capita of any state. And we lead there too. So, and then you get into, things like dairy. We're not the highest producer of milk, but that's because all of our milk goes to cheese. We have, 1,200 cheesemakers across the state. They make 600 kinds of cheese, and all of those are made from Wisconsin dairy. So you kind of see how, and I think that's something that really sets us apart. I mean, Wisconsin is the only state to have a master cheesemaking program outside of Europe, where they also do it. We also, I think, have a larger variety of farms here. You can find everything, and the book sort of represents that. I mean, there's a trout farm, there is a buffalo farm, there's a farm that raises sheep, lambs. There is the grass-fed beef cooperative is in here, which includes a bunch of farms from across the state. Hogs. And all sorts of things you wouldn't think about. There's even a story in here about an Oneida farm called Oquaqua that is on a reservation that's dedicated to growing and kind of reclaiming the foods that the Oneida Nation ate and the stories behind those foods, years and years ago. There's so much in here, and I mean, there's a great cross-section between appetizers, salads, entrees, desserts, and cocktails. There are also cocktail recipes in here, and there's a delicious recipe for a sweet corn old-fashioned, which I think is oh so very Wisconsin. But also, and it requires a little bit of time because you need to infuse your spirits with the corn, but that flavor really, really comes through. And in my mind, it's probably the best version of the cocktail that there might be. I just want to encourage people. Part of my inspiration for this book was my experiences, not only writing about restaurants and working with those folks and seeing the wonderful things they do with food, but my experience with farms at the farmers markets. Because I've learned so much. I learned things from my mom and my grandmother, how to cook, how to do things. but I learned how to use ingredients from farmers. And they taught me, they taught me so much. There's actually a little intro in here that's really an homage to that, because farmers taught me like when to put, when the things were really ripe, like if you want to keep this, put this away, put this up, you can freeze it. A farmer showed me once how to cook sunchokes, which I'd never cooked before. So I owe a lot, to the richness of my life and my diet to the farms. And the West Allis Market is one of my faves. Right now, the book is available very, very widely. You can find it on Amazon and Barnes & Noble. I always encourage people to try at their local bookstore first. So Boswell Books in Milwaukee definitely carries it. And probably, just based on what I know, a lot of the local bookstores should have it in stock at this point.